of UA Flash Wolves versus TSM. The winner moves on to the finals of the Intel Extreme Masters. Sivir, Rumble, Zed banned out by UA Flash Wolves, not wanting to deal with Bjergsen once more, and TSM banning Morgana, Maokai, and finally, what it is. What do you think?
I think it has to be the LeBlanc. You cannot give the LeBlanc matchup and try to take the Ahri versus LeBlanc matchup. You know, that can be a really tough one. Maybe they want to risk it with the Victor, but Maple showed that he can extend his LeBlanc prowess, not just in the laning phase, but constantly chunking out TSM members, at one point even soloing out Dyrus among all 5 teammates. And wow, they're really just willing to give up the LeBlanc, and Bjergsen's got his hands full now.
Yeah, and looks like it may be a Nidalee first pick for Karza, so now over to TSM.
It's interesting. I mean, if Nidalee was up, Santorin would have picked it. But Santorin's gone 2 games of Lee Sin. The guys in the caster desk were implying that Santorin was playing Evelynn instead, because in the early game had 0 presence and was invisible on the map. And it's something that is showing through. Santorin's done better as the game's progressed, but his Lee Sin has left a lot to be desired. Yes, as well, there was a lane swap. It is more difficult in those scenarios, but still, for Santorin, Vi was banned previously. We know NA's played Vi. Could consider going that route if they need engage.
I kind of do like the Lulu pick here because, yes, technically it's a flex pick. We all know it's going to go to Lustboy, most likely, and that was so crucial in the games they've won here in Katowice. Do you think it's a bit too early? And there we go, LeBlanc for Bjergsen too. Pretty solid first rotation.
No surprises, and I think this is going to test Maple to see what answer he brings to the LeBlanc table, because every matchup that's left now, with the exception of a couple of oddball picks, are going to be really skill matchups. And if he takes a 1v1 like we saw last game and falls behind, this one's going to go really bad because their jungler is no longer a pick jungler, it's a poke. So you're not going to be able to punish LeBlanc's over-aggressiveness as much as you were last game versus the Zed.
Difficult situation for Flash Wolves.
Wow, and Flash Wolves saying, hey, well, we're just going to go double AD. There you go. Now you know. TSM, aware of it. How do you kind of, well, what do you pick now that you know that that's what it's going to be for the UA Flash Wolves?
I think TSM has to go with a little bit of a harder engage composition now. I think the Lissandra top lane will be a good pick here again, just because you can easily get in the back line, and you know, Dyrus just has to go for really good flanks and can get that. And you've already shown that Lustboy can make your top lane engage champions, such as a Kennen, that much stronger. And the Vi, you know, if you get a Lissandra as your last pick, perhaps even a Kennen if you want to go for a more team fight oriented lockdown, then it's going to really shut down this double AD composition. I really don't like that they showed their hand so early.
The one thing I do want to see what Flash Wolves decided for their support pick. Is it going to be the Janna? Is it going to be the Nami? What do they prioritize as the most important? All of them are going to be difficult because Vi's not going to be affected. So I like the idea of sticking a Lissandra into that who can follow up, but Dyrus needs to be a little bit more impactful. I think in the previous game, if it wasn't for Bjergsen and Wild Turtle getting off to such good starts, I really don't know if Dyrus would have had the same level of impact that he did. I felt like he was caught out. I didn't feel like his ultimates were as impactful.
Well, yeah, I totally agree. I mean, and in the end, we still saw him getting caught out in the later stages of those games. You know, if the mid lane, if the bot lane doesn't have as much presence, he really can't allow that to happen again.
And, you know, this team composition from the Flash Wolves, we have seen them be a little bit more objective focused with the first game, not so much the second one, but this is a really difficult composition to execute, in which you do have to hit those timings really well with your Mira Mana, your Trinity Forces, and your Nidalee with the Seraph's Embrace build. And, you know, you don't have a whole lot of hard engage, to be honest. You have practically none, and it's Sion really being your front line while you get enough poke. And the Lulu shields, to be honest, should be enough to mitigate quite a bit of it, especially considering that LeBlanc can mimic a lot of it.
One of the things that I do like about the Sion swap as opposed to Gnar, Stake did not demonstrate a strong Gnar play yesterday, so I prefer the Sion. We've been discussing, you know, the play and the champions that Stake's been successful on. It's a little more difficult to make the mistakes in the Sion. You're expected to miss your ultimate, everybody is.
Pretty much, yeah. Wouldn't be entertaining if you didn't.
Exactly, but everything else, it is a super strong front line, and it is one of those stories where if Stake can get to be beefy enough to at least draw some aggro, draw some attention, maybe buy time for the double ADs. But, you know, you've touched on the fact that there's a lot of hard engage from Team Solomid.
Look at that, and Annie locked in, so that will be a top lane Lulu for Dyrus. TSM switching things up at the last moment. What do you think? What does this mean for TSM now?
Well, this means that TSM has a little bit of a better time engaging in teamfighting this composition, so it's going to really make the timing of grouping and sieging for the Flashwolves a lot riskier because you can get that Annie going in. Now your Vi engage all of a sudden is that much better because when she goes in, can hit the furthest the target that's further back, and if they pounce back or use any other going back abilities with the wild growth, all of a sudden you get yourself in a massive engage.
Yeah, the champions are locked in for this decisive game. It's go big or go home. Damn, I messed that up. It is go big or go home. We'll be right back with the game right after this.
Welcome back to the Intel Extreme Masters World Championship. We're at the crunch game here in Game 3. Go home or go big or whatever Shox was trying to say earlier on. Guys, what do we think to this third game, lineup-wise, and you know where these teams are psychologically? At backstage, I saw Yowie Flashwolves. They were not happy after Game 2.
Oh, really? Interesting. Well, they've completely altered their strategy, going for a big-time kite composition. It was read fairly early. You do have to question their draft a little bit, taking the Ezreal in the second round. They really did show their hand extremely early, which prompted the Vi pick. And then I think the transition into the Lulu top lane, as opposed to, they realized that they needed just a bit more engage and grab the Annie as well.
Yeah, I think at least here for the Yowie Flashwolves, it's a comp they like to run. Again, they play around this team or these kite compositions back in the LMS very often. They got to survive the early stages of the game because that's where the lane, I mean, the LeBlanc into Ezreal is so much in favor of Bjergsen in terms of the pressure he can add in. If they get to 20 minutes, however, and get to group up as a team, that's where they really got to use that mid-game spike to create the goal lead and make sure that TSM will never get enough wards and map control to get the right flank, say, with the Vi, with the LeBlanc, because then your AD carries are just going to drop that.
Well, we're going to find out. Yowie Flashwolves versus Team Solomid, the third and final game of our first semi-final here. We will go on to that grand final here. A sold-out squad deck tomorrow. We'll find out. Fans in the stadium here, obviously fans of TSM, as there seem to be everywhere, you know.
Yeah, so we've had lane swap twice now, but it's because Stake has been playing Aurelia and Team Solomid tried to shut him down early. Now he's on Sion, one of the best top laners in the lane swap. He can farm really well with his E, and obviously going to do a camp as well at level 1. But also just a standard lane. I mean, the thing for Stake here is he's going to be very tanky very early because you're just building full tank on Sion anyway. And nice. Lulu is unable to pressure him really in that lane.
Yeah, nice ward kill with the Q. Cougar forms, so they do take that little bit of vision out early on, force it to be replaced. And yeah, we may be headed for standard lanes right here. We do see NL and Sword Art hovering around that bottom side. TSM's Wild Turtle and Lust Boy also not going to second guess themselves this time like last game and head up into the top lane initially. So it looks like we will end up with the standard lanes so far. It's interesting too because Flashwolves did ban out the Vi in the first game of this series. It's obviously something they're concerned about in terms of the ganking abilities that Santorin will have at level 6, especially for Bjergsen. That's such an easy way to get your mid laner ahead.
And also, it's one of the few champions who can guarantee an engage, because you can't QSS the Via ulti. So when you run these kite compositions, you obviously go to late game and then you get defensive items to stop whatever engage is coming. You won't be able to do that against a Vi. So TSM will always have a way of engaging. The question is just how many people can follow Santorin when he goes in, because if he targets one of these 280 carries, they can quickly jump backwards and then pull him all the way back and very far away from his own team, and that's not what you want to happen, or want to have happen if you're TSM.
Yeah, so we were talking a little bit. I mean, TSM does have to make a bit of a splash here early on in this game. Otherwise, these kite compositions that are just so strong right now, and we've seen the issues that can be caused for teams in the late game against the Sion. Watching the WE versus CJ game earlier on in the day, we saw that at a certain point, it didn't really matter how much hard CC that CJ had. There was just no killing that Sion and no moving him out of the way to tank for damage.
And that really is the thing here for the Yori Flash Wolves. Survive early game, get to around 20 minutes where you have man immune, and of course you have 24s on your Ezreal and your Corki at the same time. You have a lot of poke damage, and you're already getting to a point where if the likes of a Vi jumps in, you can burst her down really, really fast. Lost-Boy going for a quick trade here, not really in favor of him. He has no sustain against the Nami. So we should see a fairly easy farm lane for Neverloose and not getting shot down as much as he did in the last game on Corki, which really didn't impress us.
No, it was pretty significant, especially considering that we did start out with the lane swap, and theoretically that was in Corki's advantage, and he still couldn't make it work.
We'll see how he goes about it this time around, and whether Maple can impress us with that Ezreal pick in the middle lane against Bjergsen and LeBlanc. And to be fair to Maple, he's done well against Bjergsen on the overall in that mid lane. He's currently up in farm as Santorin takes down the crab and gets him a bit of vision control on that bottom side of the river. But a fairly slow-paced start to this game, just expecting Santorin to power through onto that level 6 mark. I mean, even on Lee Sin, we didn't particularly see him getting too involved in the early stages either.
Yeah, and Kaza, of course, playing Nidalee early on, does have the freedom to invade in. Only thing he has to worry about is if Bjergsen can roam from this mid lane. But because because Dyrus has been pushed in the top lane, he knows at least there's a route out going towards the top side, and that's exactly what he did to Recall. Denied quite a lot of farm. He denied it. Fast level 6 for Santorin as well, because he's going to...
That's actually a really big delay right there.
The big golem is gone as well up here in the top side.
He just went Raptor to Crab and now to big golem, and it is all gone. So that's a pretty important timing.
Yeah.
And may influence this game a little bit later on. So Karsa taking advantage. Turtle actually eating a bubble right there and really going out worse for wear.
And I really want to see how Team Solomid will itemize, because Lost Boy likes to go for early distortion on when he plays Annie for more flash tippers. That's great. We've seen Righteous Glory coming in on Annie's. We've seen obviously Talisman, which is what I'm expecting in this game here, for him really to boost up your entire team. Because remember, this Vi, you need to follow up when she engages. Let's see though what Kaza can do here.
Yeah, that ward just timed out there in River. That's a good stun from Lust Boy. The spear comes through, body blocked by Wild Turtle. That might have just been enough to kill off Lust Boy, but they were far up that lane, and it was the exact second that ward timed out was when Karsa came over it. Nicely done from the Flash Wolves.
And that's just really good timing, because you can see when the enemy goes out to ward fairly easily, as long as you have vision on them, and you just time to say, okay, it's 1 minute here early on, tell your jungler that information, so it's not just randomly he's walking down as the ward disappears. Just a nice little setup, forcing a few summoners from Team Solomid. Now Karsa is back in the mid lane.
Well, can they actually lock down Bjergsen though? Got no crowd control, and that could be a problem, especially the mid lane where Bjergsen is so mobile.
Yeah, but what Karsa's doing right now is excellent. He's buying time at the moment. He pushed back the wave, got a little bit of control. He's making sure that these towers don't take too much damage either, so that they can just safely farm, not worry about a giant influx of gold from TSM as they slowly chip them out. And everything's looking good, at least early on, for the Flash Wolves if they want to hit these item power spikes. So TSM may need to be a little bit more aggressive. It's going to hinge around what Santorin does with this first Vi gank that has been delayed just a little bit.
Yeah, normally when we see this matchup here in the mid lane, LeBlanc will control the whole thing, and that opens up for your jungler to invade into the enemy jungler, because you know you got the backup from LeBlanc, who's going to be stronger in the 2-2 skirmish. Bjergsen as well. Good little trade here, but because Santorin has been set behind from that early invade by Karsa here. He's going to need some time before it's level 6, and we can really see him start playing aggressive. But once he hit it, I expect to see him go into the jungle of Yowie Flash Wolves, actively look for these fights here, because you know Bjergsen's going to push down the lane, and with his burst, you will be able to get a very quick kill.
Yeah, Stake actually going for some coverage in the mid lane right now. They're very dedicated to holding on to their towers, and this was a pretty successful strategy for them. Very interesting that we do see Maple going for the T-Force right after the tier.
Yeah, he had the pickaxe before, but he resold it, and then he picked up the makings of a Phage instead. So this is a bit of a different Ezreal compared to what we normally see. You get the tier, and then you rush a Trinity Force, and that's to time the spike of a Corki. So you can group it now around like 30-14 minutes with double Trinity Force very early on, but it does mean you won't stack your tier as fast because you won't have the mana immune, and that obviously hurts you a little bit in that long run.
Yeah, I actually think this is a better solution to this game in particular, though.
I think it's smart as well. I like it here with the Corki especially.
Oh, there's NL getting caught out, somewhat stunned up by Lustboy, down to less than half HP, but putting good damage back there onto Wild Turtle. And as you mentioned before, the fact that they've got that Nami in there to give him that sustained back means that you should have a better time. There is Santorin, level 6 now. We'll see what he can do with that Assault and Battery.
And the thing also about this Ezreal build here, when you go back as Ezreal the first time, normally what you see is they sit and farm, and they can just buy an instant mana immune and then go back and start stacking it up really fast. Because he went back and could only afford the pickaxe, he realized, okay, I'm gonna have to go back in a minute's time to complete my mana immune. That's terrible timing for me. I'm gonna lose waves from it. I'm gonna lose pressure. So instead he said, okay, I'm gonna go for this Trinity Force second, get the first tier. And as you said, Monty, I think it's pretty smart, especially with a Corki as well, and with the timing of the gold he had when he backed.
If we take a look at the wards right now, too, from the Flash Wolves, we do see some nice pink placements around the mid. It's going to make it difficult for Vi to get in onto Ezreal if they do want to go for that all-in. And look at this attempt at a steal. He gets it!
Well. Maple coming up nicely there. Will steal away that blue buff, and poor old Bjergsen just waiting for his cooldowns to come off there as that comes flying in and steals his bounty.
And that is so important because it means Bjergsen can't put the same pressure on the mid lane. And we mentioned how once Santorin hit level 6, you can see those two guys together trying to make some plays. You also see
What is this?
Charge up the mid lane. It's a LeBlanc though jumping.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, at least he's going to get back to lane quickly, So the upshot, he can get some deep wards in safely with Nidalee. It's not actually the most terrible use of that ultimate. As long as you don't have to respond with it, you can make sure that Bjergsen does have to play back, and you can get some better wards in. I mean, really, the Flash Wolves, look at the comparison between Flash Wolves and TSM and wards right now. Just a huge ring around the outside. They know that the threat of Santorin's Vi is there, and they're not giving him any openings.
And also, there's no flash for Bjergsen, so had he distortion forward, well, maybe it kills. I like it. Some good old Stake on this sign here. Really had okay games on the Aurelia beforehand, one of his main picks back in the LMS. But they have decided to put him back on a tank here, obviously knowing that Aurelia wouldn't do a whole lot in a double 80 carry composition. So I like this more. Get a big, beefy front line. No pun intended.
And Neverlose actually holding his own, definitely down here on the bottom side, actually slightly ahead in terms of CS. Bjergsen still on top in the mid lane. Of course, Maple getting that tier does make it, so he really doesn't have any combat stats early on to trade effectively.
Just
he's doing okay.
Yeah, again, it's so good that he got that blue buff because Bjergsen cannot keep trading. He's going to run out of mana. And it simply means that Maple can push out the wave and sit back and be safe, and also make sure Karsa won't get invaded in his jungle. Santorin so far has still not done anything on Vi. And despite the Yowie Flash Wolves putting so many wards on the top side of the map, they also managed to get control around the dragon itself. Just some very good early wards, and not really sure where TSM is placing their wards.
Well, that's the thing. They didn't really have control of it.
They just had a scuttler. That was it on the map in terms of wards. So vision game is really far in advance for Yowie right now, and it's not giving TSM very many openings. And this has been a pretty consistent problem of TSM's in the LCS, is that they do tend to give up a lot of early dragons.
Well, last game they gave up the first one as well. Managed to take 5 in a row after that. So we'll see what TSM can do this time around. See that Morellonomicon done for Bjergsen in the mid lane. Lustboy actually roaming up, but there's a ward inside the Death Brush, and that will be an attempt on that mid lane that won't work out for him. He's actually recalling now his Lust Boy, so nothing really to be had there. We've also, it's worth mentioning, I think, not seen Santorin do anything up until now with Vi.
He's been seen this entire game. I mean, Yoi's just playing back. There's no easy ganks for him to get, and he just walks through wards wherever he goes, just due to the vision that Yoi Flash Wolves have established here on the map. It's actually been very, very airtight early game plan from them.
It's just perfect because, again, you're just waiting to reach around between 15 and 20 minutes when you have double Trinity Force completed on your Corki, on your Ezreal. That's where you start looking for plays. So if you can play safe up until that point and just win through having early wards and make sure this Vi doesn't pull anything off, well, that's perfect for you. There's a pink ward here from Team Solomid, so Santorin knows he's not spotted. But at the same time, if Yoi Flash Wolves saw the ping ward being placed because it cleared one of their wards, then you know they're setting up for a lane gank, and that's fairly easy for you then to just sit back and say, we're not going to risk anything because we have absolutely zero information of our lane bushes.
They saw him come down from the wards up by the Gromp there.
Well, that works too.
They've seen him that early.
That works too.
They pinged it instantly and just sitting straight back there. So Flash Wolves really doing well. There's a pink ward finally cleared out by Bjergsen. But we'll see how this all works out from another pink ward for Maple, though. He's just going to go in there and replace again.
You know, they spent a lot of money doing this, especially because we don't have an early Sightstone jungler in the Nidalee from Karsa right here, but it's paying off. Santorin has wasted about a minute, maybe more, actually, in that brush. And he's falling behind in terms of farm, too. Karsa's just been farming up a storm so far this game.
No lanes for him to gank. Really, a Sion is not going to be too effective at killing a Lulu. Obviously, we know Ezreal is not going to do a whole lot in the mid lane either. So you're just sitting back farming with defensive wards, and you've done a great job. Your tier is stacking up for Maple here. Let's see how much it's on currently. 300 mana for him. And now Castle looking towards Dyrus in the top lane.
Oh, the slow didn't quite land there. And, well, the spear did, and that could make him jump in there. Oh, but Santorin makes his presence felt. Carson can't quite get onto Dyrus. The last second shield, and Dyrus will pick up the first blood. And we said we've not seen Santorin, funnily enough. As soon as he makes himself present, they managed to get a kill.
That's right, a good turnaround. And for all the vision that the Flash Wolves have established, they chose the one time when they didn't know where the jungler was. And in taking a look at some of the Flash Wolves games, this has been an issue. They do sometimes overextend without knowing where the enemy jungler is, and it can turn around on them when that happens.
That was also a lane you don't have to gank. You don't gain anything by shutting down the Lulu here when you have a Sion lane who's already free farming. I mean, look at the stake here. He's going to be insanely tanky already in the mid game on his own. Bjergsen now going for Sword Art.
Yeah, in a position where I'm not sure he should really be there. Flash over the top from Lustboy will lock up a couple of them. Not sure if Stake's got the damage there to finish off Lustboy. Neverlose is going to come around there as well. As they
shoot the timbers away.
And that's another one for TSM. They look like they could be losing out on that blue buff here, though. Stay small amount away from knocking up Wild Turtle, but blue buff going to be stolen here.
Giving it over to NL, actually. So this is going to coincide with a pretty nice power spike for them if they can hold on to both of those blues. And denying Bjergsen some of that pressure on the mid lane has been successful, but TSM quickly moving up about 1,000 gold, all ready for that. Stake burning his TP disadvantage for the next dragon. So Dyrus will have that available to him should he choose to use it. He may get a tower here as well. This has been really good map play from TSM.
Really finding openings in the wardings. Stake though, he's on Dyrus. Sword Art is joining as well.
Yeah, they had no ward there, so they've not seen Sword Art actually coming up. There is an easy bubble to land, but between them, they've got roughly no damage, I think, to actually finish this one off. Karsa is now joining in. Nice dodge of the spear. Can they actually finish off Dyrus? That's a great wild growth, and Lustboy and Dyrus looking to turn this one around. Bjergsen and Santorin both headed up north. Santorin should be able to get in there with the Vault Breaker. Flashed away from, though, by Stake, and a good bubble should stop them.
Again, though, there's no reason to gank this lane here. Stake doesn't need your help. He just wants to sit and farm on his own. You have 0 damage. Nami roaming up there. TSM again reacting to it, they prevent someone from dying, and they got this tower so low from the TP before with Stake.
And in the meantime, Bjergsen able just to farm up, put some more damage onto the mid lane tower, playing this a little bit safely. You know, even losing that tower isn't the end of the world right now. You could just have Stake farm up close to the tier 2 turret and play for that mid in that late game where you do have that advantage. Bjergsen just nearly taking out mid in the interim.
Really backfiring. Never lose though. He wants some fighting down the bottom lane.
Well, he's got himself that Trinity Force, which I'm... Ooh.
Oh, what?
Thought he expected the last rocket to hit, so he flashed in after to get the last
bit of this play.
Especially because you just hit your Trinity Force, and this is the time where you're going to start grouping. And not having that flash against the Vi LeBlanc combination for your first group, that's going to be really, really risky for Never Lose. We're going to have to see if it backfires for him.
They're going to get the tower,
there.
though.
Yeah.
They will get the tower for it, so pushing him out at least nets them an objective, even if it likely would have happened anyway without burning the flash right there.
And that brings them to Dragon time here as well, but it's warded up by TSM.
And we see here for Kaza, decided to go for Magus Enchant very early instead of getting that tier, which you normally see once you sit like just on your Hunter's Machete, you go back the first time, you pick up that tier because you stack it so fast, and then it would fit in with your Trinity Forces because you get it around this 17-18 minute mark. That's where it's fully stacked, and you hit a big spike on this Nidalee, a lot of extra mana as well for poking, and obviously AP once you upgrade it. But he decided to go for Magus first for more early pressure, and then get a very late tier. It's only on 200 mana at this point, so that's not going to be stacked up in time to really fit in with the Ezreal and the Corki unless they delay their grouping up by 5 or 6 minutes more. But Never Loses, he wants another trade.
Yeah, he's dead though. I mean, yeah, in theory he's winning that fight again, but Santorin was already there, and that basically gives them the free dragon now. I mean, they'd started to group down there. No vision around that area really, except in the very back of the dragon pit. You're going to get caught out when you try that twice in a row.
Well, not to mention, you know they have TP advantage as well. That was pretty much a gimme for TSM. You can't be making plays like that. Flash Wolves, I think, playing a lot more desperately than they need to right here.
Yeah.
They could have had a very measured early game, and in fact, they did for most of it, but then committing to really questionable plays later on. They're going to get a top lane tower in exchange for that dragon, so at least they get something. They'll keep it somewhat even, but TSM starting to run away a little bit.
We've simply seen as soon as their pink wards, the Flash Wolves had placed earlier, got cleared by Team Solomid, and also simply the warding side to lag behind a little bit. That's where Team Solomid find the openings. They were the ones roaming up. We had that trade in the mid lane beforehand where Lost Boy came in from behind as well. That was simply because there was a ping ward being placed in the river by Team Solomid this time around. So they were the ones who could move, and Yowie Flash Wolves are not respecting how many guys can collapse on them at once, either through teleports or just simply by moving themselves from wherever they were farming. And that has really hurt them here because they've been trying to make some plays, and Team Solomid had an answer every single time, giving them a small goal lead. It's still not terrible because you got this mid-game 20-minute mark, which is going to be so strong for you. So we're going to have to see if they can use it. This is the first grouping. No Trinity Force yet for Mabel, however. And of course, this tier for Casa is not even close to be fully stacked at this point. So you still need a few more minutes before you can set up a fantastic siege.
Yeah, just going to fire the True Shot Barrage over the top and recall. He may have the makings of the Trinity Force right now. Stake will clear out some farm up or down in the bottom lane, and it may give the farm up top side. We'll see where that one's going to go.
Last two blue buffs were, of course, stolen away by the Yowie Flash Wolves, so this will actually be the first one of the game for Bjergsen. See what he puts that to use with. Well, you see that TSM really, these last few minutes, been focusing on getting a bit more vision down. They've got one in that curved brush inside of the Flash Wolves jungle, pink inside the Death Brush as well, but they might be called over to actually defend this middle outer turret.
Well, this is that power spike that we were talking about. Double Trinity Force completed. They do have a chance to group right now. Not sure if I like Stake being there, considering that they do have TP advantage at the moment, and he could be applying a bit more pressure to a tier 2, but they may want that tanky frontline to deal with this that's coming in right now.
They're expecting to engage.
Oh, Lost Boy is gonna pretty much miss everything there. And actually, they have had to use Summon a heal on him. That's probably not good. Santorin, though, right in the middle with Wild Growth on. They managed to pick up NL. They're gonna get Karsa here as well. Bjergsen will get that for the double. And I think this might be a cleanup. Stake is gonna go down. Maple getting hit left, right, and center. Bjergsen trying to get away. Actually, a turret hit from the side will mean that he goes down. Stake just running around with his last couple of seconds, and that's a 4-for-1 in favor of TSM.
Really saw the power of the Vi pick here, got in there, we got the knockoff from Lost Boy, he locked down Never Lose, and Bjergsen managed to come from the side as well, so they were basically flanked around. There was one very important ping ward from Team Solomid that allowed them to engage in from the side of their own mid lane, and that was so important. We saw the 5-man group from YoE Wolves, but they simply couldn't see the engage coming, got shut down.
And when you play these kind of siege compositions, it is absolutely huge to make sure that your flanks are warded. It was all too easy for TSM to get in there. They found the right position. Again, great pink ward on the side, and they were able to lock down these very squishy carries in the back line. And as we say that gold lead that was 1,000 before, now 4 to 5, this is definitely going to be in favor of TSM because YoE is starting to lose grip on this siege that they had, and also critically losing the mid lane turrets, because the thing that's so dangerous about siege compositions like this is having to run so far back. It also means that you have to ward even more space to proceed safely without being worried for a teleport or what Bjergsen can do to them from behind right here.
Well, they spotted him from a ward, but Bjergsen just going to run away from that one. Get himself a decent wave on that bottom side. The rest of the team just making sure that the Flash Wolves don't actually push up onto this tier 2 middle turret. And now Bjergsen's actually coming in from that backside. They're going to spot in there thanks to those pink wards that they've got. And again, they're going to start chasing, but you can't lock down a LeBlanc in a position like that.
No, we also see from Bjergsen here how much focus there is on this mid game for Team Solomid, preventing that push from happening. Early Void Staff, second item, simply because it's cheaper and fully completed death cap there.
The build that Maple would have liked to have gone
yes,
last game.
Of course.
Well, also the early Elixir of Sorcery as well, just adding that extra punch for that engage. You see him toying around with Stake here in the bottom lane. Stake with some MR in that Warmogs, though, is going to be pretty immune to a lot of this damage.
And I don't know if I agree with Blade coming in from Never Lose here. Normally BT, in my opinion, is better when you run these siege compositions. Obviously it's for using the Blade on Santorin after they engage and try to like kite back, but once Santorin pops his ulti, he's done his job. And if you don't survive that part anyway, because you don't have, let's say, the shield from a BT, well, the Blade won't do anything for you. So I like BT more. Gives you the shield, gives you more poke damage, which is what you need because you're going to kite backwards anyway.
You also have to question the efficiency too, because there isn't going to be a very big tank on this composition either. So having that BT, the more flat AD, actually probably will do more damage to many of these champions.
And also gives you more lifesteal, which is even better as well.
Very true. Bjergsen continues to be a bit of an annoyance on this bottom side of the map, clearing out wards as he goes. They can see 4 members, in fact all 5, because Stake's up in the top lane there, and that means that Bjergsen can just basically chill, wait for someone to come his way, or just go straight back down that bottom side of the map. And Flash Wolves here being pulled left and right. It looks like they're struggling to figure out what they're going to do now.
If they want to fight for this dragon, then they should defend these ping wards they've already placed. Once they get cleared by Team Solomid, then there's nothing YoE Flash Wolves can do down here. Bjergsen's going to get the first one, and that simply means you now lost control of the dragon, so there's going to come a flank from... It doesn't even matter which side, but you know either LeBlanc or Vi is going to come from one of the sides and get onto your carries, because you just lost most of your ping wards you placed before. Why didn't you stay around them and defend them? Now Bjergsen is going to get a kill. Never mind.
Close enough though. NL might be completely forced out of the fight. Stake is in the middle of them, and that could be bad news for him. Going to go down to half HP, trying to run away. In fact, has to use his ultimate, but they do manage to get in. They get Carcer. Good little bubble. Will that be enough to save the rest of the team? Flashing from Dyrus, and there is the Cullen coming through. Stake is slowly but surely going down, but Maple, he dives in the backside of them, almost getting something back there, but it looks like Bjergsen will be able to chase down the last man. Nice bubble from Swordart. He's going to be under his tower, so almost an ace here for TSM, and they're headed straight towards Baron.
Now, when you have all of those pink wards down, you have to fight in the middle of them, and the idea is you don't let TSM get into the river, because you want to narrow them down in the chokes where they're a lot easier to poke out, and you have a circle of vision around you so that you can know where the flanks are coming in, and you can kite them out, and they simply failed to execute that.
And also remember here, Violent is a point-and-click ability. If you keep dancing around bushes where you have pink wards, it's very hard for Santorin to get the right target, because it's not auto attacks from Corgi and Israel that's going to hit you, it's the Q, it's the rockets and everything, so he won't be able to just run straight and be like, okay, there you go, point-and-click, I'm going to lock you down, we get a kill. So they invested so many ping wards on the dragon itself, and then decided to just completely leave them and walk down once they were cleared. Big misplay here from the Yoi Flash Wolves. They might be able to get the dragon anyhow. Santorin is coming with Lost Boy though.
Oh. That could have been a little bit closer. Santorin coming in there. Did have that smite available, was just out of reach before it actually went down. So Flash Wolves actually picking themselves up another dragon. Certainly not to be sniffed at, but TSM with a big lead, closing in on 10,000 gold at this stage, 11-1 in kills and up in turrets as well. It's not looking good for the Flash Wolves and their finals hopes.
No, I think at this stage, as soon as you get this far ahead with this Vi combo, and Dyrus has so much AP, they can just dive turrets with Assault and Battery. So there's not really a huge chance of the Flash Wolves coming back in this. And, you know, TSM's done a great job of basically catching all of Yoi's misplays. I think that Yoi was great for the first 15 minutes of the game. Then they overplayed their advantage just a little bit, and TSM was right there to punish them.
Simply started making plays they didn't have to. I mean, you don't need to go gang for your sign. He's going to be fine. Can't say the same for your Nami.
Yeah, dive straight in there, as we were just saying a couple of seconds ago. Carcer going to go low, has to actually flash away. Santorin himself is actually going fairly low on this one, but they've taken the turret. They've killed off 2 people as well. Stake's like, I'm dead, but I'm running back to base anyway. Just going to have a bit of a jog around, and TSM are going to keep pushing this one, and why not? Baron buff on means those minions helping out a lot more, and well, they're going to take the first inhibitor of the game. They may even decide to push a little bit further, although mid lane is pushed up onto the inhib turret as well.
Go straight for that mid lane at least, unless they want to play it a bit safer here. They are fairly low. Can always recall back. So Wild Turret just going to push it in, and then you reset the whole thing. It should be a lot of gold now for Team Solomid. Bjergsen sitting on 2,000, 1,700 for Dyrus here. Hourglass completed now. This Lulu, the shields and the wild growth is going to be absolutely insane, and you don't have the damage to take down targets now.
Yeah, and Santorin, we saw it there, as Monty was just pointing out, he just can dive in there. I mean, he's super tanky already. If he gets low, he's got about another 1,000,000 hit points from wild growth as well.
With these 2 compositions, it's definitely not the same story as last game, where they had to play around the Baron, they had to play around the Dragon in order to close. TSM can simply just barrel through, get onto the back line, and see this one out. So shouldn't be caught in the same waiting hell that we were stuck in the last game.
Well, let's see if they want to go for another dive. I mean, why not? Bjergsen, though, might be caught out. Well, it's a LeBlanc.
Yeah. Not much lockdown.
No CC there.
Yeah, but not much lockdown for this Yoi Flash Wolves team. In fact, none really. I mean, if Nami's not there, you've pretty much got no chance. Santorin getting that pink wall down. You see the shield. It's about a quarter of his hit points.
You know, another one of these issues with these kiting compositions is that you are very reliant on your opponents to decide when to fight, because if you get into a situation where you have to make picks to come back into the game, it's just not going to happen, because the entire concept is waiting for the other team to engage on you in the first place. So it does make it ridiculously hard to play from behind.
Yeah, that's also why you got up around your vision properly, because you need to be able to spot when the engages are coming. You need to be the one landing the poke beforehand. And they just haven't been able to. The first engage in the mid lane was because Team Solomid had a pink ward on the side. Santorin got into the back line. won the first team fight. The next one around the Dragon, kind of the same deal. There were a few pink balls placed by Yori Flash Wolves. They left them. They all got cleared, and suddenly Team Solomid could just pick the right fight, get the flank in with Bjergsen and everything, and that's why they've been getting so far ahead with this comp. And if you see this in for Santorin, we don't really see the early ganks from him, but once we get to team fights, he's having a massive impact for his team.
Yeah, and especially, I mean, the first kill up top as well, like we were saying, he's not really done much, and then he appears at exactly the right time in that top lane, helping Dyrus to get that first blood. Now TSM simply waiting this one out. Actually kind of surprised that they didn't go when NL had backed all the way off onto the Nexus turrets to clear out those super minions that were barreling through, but TSM doing this one the safe way, which you can definitely understand at this point. A spot in the finals up for grabs, but they have over a 10,000 gold lead. And surely just a matter of time until TSM book their place in the final.
Yeah, not really any key items they're waiting for at this point. I mean, you got 3 already for Dyrus. You got all the burst items, we can almost say, for Bjergsen, the main core of a LeBlanc with Deathcap, Morello, and Void Staff. So you're not really waiting for any items. Maybe they want to get another Baron and just be 100% sure they can push in for the finish before they go for another dive from Team Solomid. Or maybe they're just waiting for Yori Flash Wolves to make a mistake and then catch them out.
I don't know, I think they can close this game pretty much at their leisure at this point. They can threaten a siege until the super minions come in, wait for somebody to leave, and then immediately dive the turret. But you know what? You want to go to the finals. Might as well be cautious. But there's always that outside shot, especially because Yoi Flash Wolves is running a very high damage composition. If they land the right series of skill shots, it can absolutely eliminate someone.
Well, we'll find out if they can do anything about this. TSM slowly but surely pushing their way through. Again, NL's had to go down this bottom lane because the super minions have started to push through once again. That inhib should be coming up fairly shortly, which should relieve a little bit of pressure from the Yoi Flash Wolves. And NL kiting the super minions up to the top so they don't even get near to those Nexus turrets as well. TSM not particularly grouping at this stage, and I think you were right in what you were saying, that Baron is probably going to be their next safety net before they go in for the win.
Really want to make sure they have everything they need before they finish. No chance has been taken, so not really using the open inhibitor here, but what they will bait the Baron out now. Yori Flash Wolves should not try and contest it, just sit back, give the Baron to Team Solomid, and then hope they overdive you in your own base, and that's how you're going to come back. Again, when you run a double AD carry composition, if you run in and face check Team Solomid in an area where you have 0 vision already, I mean, you are just going to get rolled over. So give this Baron here, even let Team Solomid take a Dragon if they want to, and hope they make some completely over-aggressive dive where there's some misplays involved.
Like a 5 misplays, perhaps?
Like,
I mean, we're only 30
Dyrus
minutes
Wim
into
seeing
it.
his own teammates the wrong way around or whatever. I don't know.
All
really
face checking.
It's a Scion.
It's a Scion, so yeah, that's not really going to do too much. In fact, you can probably turn it around on him at this point. There's Wild Turtle taking down the crab. Another Dragon just for good measure here for TSM.
It's actually only their second in the game.
Yeah.
The second one. He needs Dragons anyway. All right, bot lane. Inhibitor is open. Easy 5-on-5 here. You can just use your Vi to engage. Just be careful Mabel or Never Lose doesn't jump all the way back to the Nexus turret with you for Santorin's own safety. You're looking for that one last team fight here for Team Solomid. Everything is ready. You got Elixirs, you got the Baron buff. Even a Void Staff now being picked up for Dyrus.
Yeah, and that is going to mean they push in, take down this inhibitor again. Mid lane is pushed out, top lane still has an inner turret on it. So that's going to take them a little bit of time to crack through. TSM taking the safe way. Oh, Snake popping out there, but Santorin decided no, I'm going to back away. Red buff as well for Wild Turtle. Full control on that bottom side of the jungle. Top side, not too much different, but they've managed to hold on and stop TSM really pushing through and going for the dive on this inner turret, which kind of surprised me because they did it on the bottom tower. Now they've got a Baron, an extra Dragon, and super and buffed minions, and they don't want to do that. Here we go, though. We are going to see Wild Turtle, not the man expected to actually dive under the tower to get this one done, but they've managed to kill off two people almost. NL actually survived there in the end, but that was the kill they were looking for. They'll get on towards Maple as well. He tried to arcane shift away, but was followed through. Stake will die as well. That's 4 men technically down. Sion will stay alive for just a little bit longer after death, but that is TSM taking down 4 men. They're going to push through this one and pick up game number 3 to move on to the Intel Extreme Masters World Championship Finals.
Well, out of all the ways to end that game, Deficio, it was the AD carry diving the turrets. I mean, the AD carry.
Honestly,
it waits so long, and then it's the AD carry diving the turrets.
I think Turl said, guys, really?
Yeah,
I'm just going to do it now, because obviously you don't want to. Santorin's like, no, I'm too scared of something really bad going on. So Turl getting in there, getting the job done, but TSM, 1-0 down. The Wolves played incredible in game number 1, but TSM really showing some great strength to come back 2 games in a row.
Yeah, absolutely. And an unlikely, I think, semifinal matchup here, especially with the Flash Wolves making it this far. And,
yeah.
Honestly, putting up a pretty good fight in this tournament, which I think none of us really predicted coming in.
I think they proved themselves as a very, very strong team coming into IEM here. Obviously beating the likes of SK Gaming and so on. So I think I'm definitely a small fan now of the Yowie Flash Wolves. I'm going to follow them more in the LMS. Really interesting team to follow, and look at that Danish flag as well in the background.
Well, they've certainly done themselves proud here, the Yowie Flash Wolves, and they said before that their aim is to come in and show the fans at home that TPA is not the only team in that region, and they've really done well.
I think they can be very proud of that performance.
Indeed. We're going to head over to the expert desk though to break down that